Yo, this marks my 5th week here in Florida and things have been going all right. It's just work as usual and it's been cold. It's cold out here. I wanted to address something because I actually made a video about this back during Asexual Awareness Week and it was not a good video. I mean, it wasn't a bad video, but I was like low-key mad and I kind of projected some of my frustration slash annoyance onto you guys, and that's not fair. It's not fair. But I do think there's a little bit of concern, just a wee bit, because I get a lot of comments, maybe like a good fourth of my comments that are just like questions, like things that aren't like, you know, someone commenting about their own experience with something, but like just straight up a question or curiosity about something. A quarter to like a third of the questions that I get are about my sexuality and how it is mind-boggling that I could be a person that is like an asocial introvert, a person that's asexual, and be in a relationship. That's just utterly confusing to some. And so I figured I would do a video that's a little less contentious and kind of just touch on some vocab and hopefully deepen some people's understanding about asexuality, because it's not necessarily the most complex sexuality at all, but I guess to someone that doesn't experience it, it is confusing. Understandably. I get it. I don't get it, but I'll try to. So if you try to get it with me, I'll try to get it with you. Diglett's talking to me. Bitch, no, I don't. I'm not talking to him. No, he's doing some K-pop shit. He's trying to tell me about my style, and I'm not about that shit. If you talk about my style, like the way that I am, and point out shit about me, I will like super glue your tongue to the roof of your goddamn mouth. I am not. Don't do it. It's just that I cringe every time someone does it, where like you're this way. This is the thing that you do, and I notice that shit. I don't like being like supremely predictable, even though I'm like the most predictable person alive. Like I just don't like being predictable. But I guess as far as my sexuality goes, I'm not entirely predictable because I have now a husband, and I'm gonna do a video about being married because I think that is important to do. But yes, I am married. Please don't congratulate me. I'm married. Okay. So on my schizoid video, I have quite a few comments about my sexuality and romantic orientation and how that has to do with my marital status or my relationship. That's just a hot button issue, a hot topic for people to talk about. So let me try to throw out some vocab for you guys, just so we're all on the same page about what we are talking about. First off, asexuality. Asexuality is a standalone sexuality, and it is also a umbrella term. It's a spectrum, so to speak. And so asexuality as a sexuality by itself, it is a lack of attraction, sexual attraction, to anyone of any gender, regardless of how well you know them or their age, or you're just not into people like that. You just don't feel sexually attracted to people. A lot of people describe it like trying to have sex with your cousin or like a close family member or a friend. It's just weird. And it is weird. It doesn't feel that way to me, but it's a peculiar place to be in. And people who are asexual can find people sexy. They can see a person and objectively see like that person is sexy. And we can find people attractive. We could think that they're aesthetically pleasing or sensually pleasing. We can experience romantic attraction. That is absolutely possible. But we don't look at people and think, I'm gonna have sex with them. I wanna have sex with them. That is a thing that I wanna do. I wanna engage in sexual things with that individual. I'm into it. There's a disconnect somewhere, or I don't know, it does not compute. I just don't feel it. don't feel it. And that's okay. It's absolutely okay. Asexuality as an umbrella term, as a spectrum, it includes a variety of modes of sexuality. I realize like demisexual, gray sexual, Q-sexual, all those things are absolutely sexualities. But I call them modes of sexuality because asexuality is in line with how we describe sexuality. So like heterosexual, homosexual, pansexual, they're all talking about the people that you're attracted to, the genders that you're attracted to. So homosexual, same gender, heterosexual, different gender. So asexual goes along with that in that you're not attracted to any gender. But when you get into the different distinctions within asexuality, it gets a bit more nuanced, and so I like to call them modes of sexuality rather than standalone sexualities, because we're talking about like the magnitude and frequency with which someone is experiencing sexual attraction. And I don't know, it just mucks up the waters a lot when you refer to all of them as sexualities, and instead of like kind of compartmentalizing it. And maybe that's not a good thing to do, but that's kind of how I think about it and how I try to parse it. I apologize if I've offended anyone, but that's just my mind. On top of being a standalone sexuality, asexuality is a spectrum. There's a list of different modes that you can, kind of identify with, and a lot of people, they found comfort in finding these definitions, and so I think they're important to talk about and make distinctions between. And so within sexuality, you have different behaviors. That's your sexual orientation, like how you experience sexual attraction. And then you have thoughts, attitudes towards sex that are, it's really important to make those distinctions as well, because you could be a person who's asexual but also sex positive. And so there are definitely different arenas that you find yourself in depending on your attitudes towards sex and your behaviors, your sexual behaviors. So me personally, I am a sex positive asexual. I see sex as positive. I don't think that it is unnatural. I think it's a-okay as long as it's consenting adults, individuals. Who gives a shit? Why even care about what other people are doing? It has nothing to do with you. And of course, there's the opposite, sex negative, which I find really interesting and like hilarious and sad when there are so many people that are, very much allosexual or not asexual and sex negative. Like, how do you even reconcile yourself with like wanting to have sex and engaging in sex and thinking that it's bad? Like, why? So sex positive, sex negative are kind of like, if we're talking about it like moods and emotions, it's your mood. It's like the overarching thoughts that you have about sex, while your sexual attitudes are closer to being like your emotions, or like the quick fire experiences that you have, thoughts that you have about sex. So let me get more into it so you understand it. As far as sexual attitudes go, you can be sex favorable, you can be sex indifferent, you can be sex repulsed. So favorable, you are favorable towards the concept of engaging in sex. So this is different from being sex positive, because sex positivity more has to do with your thoughts towards sex as a whole. When you're talking about being sex favorable, you're talking about you yourself and engaging in sex yourself. And so my thoughts towards sex, like what do I feel about sex versus what do I feel about having sex? There you go. I personally am, I'm in flux, to be honest. I go between being sex favorable very seldomly to sex indifferent to sex repulsed quite a bit. And I don't know, I just not about that life, I guess. I originally thought that sex would be something that I would be like super into, and like the thought of it is really cool to me. It really is. But doing it is fucking disappointing and terrible. So I just rather not do it because it sucks. So yeah. And just because I am sex repulsed like more than half the time, it doesn't mean that I am repulsed by other forms of intimacy, as far as like more sensual things rather than sexual. So like cuddling, kissing, hugging, that kind of stuff. I'm a lot more favorable towards stuff like that because it's a lot less intrusive. A lot less intrusive. Yeah. So we have some definitions. We have asexual as a standalone sexuality. We have asexuality as a spectrum, which includes a variety of different sexualities within it. Then we have sex positive versus sex negative. And then we have sex favorable, sex indifferent, and sex repulsed. So, I don't know. Hopefully that was helpful because like I'm trying to get people geared towards understanding my experience. You guys ask me questions because I have no idea what you don't know, and I don't know how to present it in a way for people to understand it, but I would like for people to understand, very much so. And I do realize that there's also like the relationship dynamic that is interesting for people, and I'll get into that as well if people want me to. Please, at the bottom of this video, please just ask me some goddamn questions. Leave some comments. I want people to understand, and I'm sick of getting questions about my sexuality because I am. So get them all out now. Get them out. Do it. Do it now. Yeah.